What's up, Auburn family, War Report family? I'm your host, C-Dub. Tonight, we recap some of the latest events that taken place with Junior Day, Signing Day, Auburn beating up on Georgia on the hardwood, as well as recapping a few victories recruiting-wise. We talk about all that and more on a special Thursday night edition of the Mid-Week Rapport. Happy Thursday, everyone. We want to welcome you to the latest edition of the Mid-Week Report, Thursday night special. I'm joined by Ike Jones, B. Will. We want to thank you guys for hanging out with us. I want to thank Auburn Sports for definitely being a supporter of our show. Guys, please do your due diligence. Those of you who've been rocking with us for quite some time, share this content, guys. It helps us out a ton. It gives us further exposure. Please use the hashtag, smash the like button, and subscribe, guys. If you haven't already, tell a friend, make sure they subscribe. We've been saying for a while we're dangerously close, but we can see the finish line. Like it's really close, guys. Help us out so we can get to 10K subscribers. Major milestone for our channel. We greatly appreciate it. And Ike is out here in these streets doing the Lord's work with special content, some content that people won't be able to see for the free ski. So Ike, tell them how they can get access to that stuff, sir.
Listen, become a member. I actually did a live today on Robbie Ashford throws that was ridiculously long. So if you hung in there with me, I already got some feedback. People saying I was talking too much. So I apologize. I do like to talk a lot during my film reviews. I like to talk a lot in general, actually. Now that I kind of think about it in general, I do talk a whole bunch. But film review is another time where I talk a lot because who else talking but me? Anyway, $5.99 gets you to the patron level. The reason why that matters is even if I have it up there for everybody to watch live, the rewatch is only going to be for patrons. So if you don't catch it live, a lot of times you won't catch the rewatch. So I only have it up for the public for a short period of time. But that is up there right now for everybody to see. Just go watch it just because I feel like there's a big conversation around Robbie and his throwing ability. So I wanted to open that up for a larger populace of the Auburn fan base. But part 2 through whatever it's going to take for me to get through literally every throw for Robbie, I don't know how generous I'm going to feel about that. I apologize in advance, but you can get there and do that right now. If you are a member and you want to gift a membership, make that happen right now from the live chat. Go and click on that and let somebody else get that membership opportunity 1 month for free on you. We're always giving away stuff. Today we're going to do, let's do a mug. Let's do the War Report mug. Tried and true. War Report mug is here. You can get that courtesy of War Eagle Oil. Hashtag get your weight up right now in the live chat. We'll be doing that drawing here shortly.
Indeed. I'm gonna grab this super chat real quick by our guy Brian Hancher. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate you for hanging out with us and for the super chat. The message is, who's forgot to type the message? Wanted to thank Ike for that marathon watch the film on Ashford's passes. Ike had been teasing for a while that he had every single pass that Robbie Ashford threw in the 2022 season. Just blessing the people with content. Yeah, just kind of for those who haven't seen it yet, Ike, just kind of Sell it for them. Give them something excited to go back and watch, man. What was some of the highs, lows? What were the major takeaways from watching that and doing the watch the film?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that you're going to see is consistency, right? Like he needs to be able to do the things that he does well more consistently, but he made some really good reads, some really good throws, and then he made some poor throws, right? Like he's a guy who the talent level is absolutely there. You can see the arm strength is there. You can see the decision making is there, but he played like a freshman at times where it's like, okay, that's not the right throw for that decision. Like if you're going to throw that throw, it needs to be, or you're going to make that decision for that read, it needs to be this type of throw. Or in this scenario, you made this throw 2 throws ago, you come right back, you got to make that exact same throw again. It doesn't look the same coming out of your hand, right? And so there's some consistency issues there, but I do believe that you can see early in the year, there's a lot of opportunities there for Robbie to be a great thrower, not just a good athlete.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I haven't had a chance to check it out yet, but I'm definitely looking forward to checking out that watch the film. I'm pretty sure you do an amazing job as usual, guys. Let's kind of talk kind of state of the program, man. How are we feeling? Signing day was yesterday. I didn't give you nothing. I didn't put together a graphic for nothing.
It's all good, man. We didn't get but 2 players, so
yeah, for sure. But how are we feeling, man? How are we feeling? Jeremiah Cobb, we secured his signature. Recruit for 2024 as well as 2025.
Yep.
Autry for 2025 and Jaden Lewis, who many people felt was going to commit very soon and did on Wednesday. So we still had some exciting recruiting news, even though we only signed a player that we knew was going to sign. Thoughts on just the momentum?
We got that preferred walk-on punter too. So
yeah, we got him.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
How are we feeling about the momentum? It seems like we still are riding a lot of momentum into this dead period where the coaching staff is now beginning to prepare for spring. Hugh Freeze met with media today and plans to actually sit down and meet with players a week from today, I believe. So your thoughts on kind of where we are? It's been a whirlwind 2 months. Like a lot has happened in these 2 months. Good things, but it's just been a lot happening. How are you feeling going into spring? I'll start with you, B. Will.
I am ecstatic because we fixed some clear deficiencies in our roster. Offensive line, linebacker. We're short on defensive linemen. We got that room full as well. That's the first most important thing. No matter how good your coaches are, you still have to have bodies with talent to work with. And we were just falling behind in talent in certain positions, and it was noticeable. You saw it on the field. It wasn't just on the rosters. It wasn't just on signing days. On the field, we saw deficiencies in play in several positions. So you fix those quickly and with some urgency. I'm happy. Now, anything else that Hugh Freeze could say, that his assistant coaches could say between now and when a quarterback battle happens and we see some play in A-Day, it's whatever. I don't know. I don't know what effect he's having on these kids right now as they are talking to him in meetings. As he said, he was going to sit down and start talking to kids. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to feel about what he has to say. I don't know how many people are going to be excited with their standing or disappointed with their standing and choose to leave. I don't know if his message is being received properly. All I know is that you addressed the problems, and now you have to start to get everything in order according to what you, the head coach, want to see in a football program. I've seen quotes from him that sound great, talking about how important the trenches are. And it was that one quote, I think it was from Tim Tebow, giving Hugh Freeze credit for how he builds his teams. It's like, yeah, I see how he wants to do things. The next step is you get these guys in spring camp. You get them on the field for A-Day. Let us see it. Let us see Robbie Ashford with improved efficiency and improved accuracy and throwing the ball. Let us see a Holden Garner come in and look like, man, maybe he could be a number one. Let's see it. Let's see it. That's the next step. So right now, Yes, I'm happy. Anything he could say between now and A-Day when we see quarterback play is it's nice to hear, but I want the next metric is how do these quarterbacks look on A-Day? That's what I'm waiting for next.
Mike G isn't joining us tonight. He has the night off, but he was there to cover Hugh Freeze meeting with media and actually was able to ask him a couple of questions. He asked him about the transfer portal, and he also asked him about what it takes to be an SEC quarterback. He gave a pretty interesting answer, Ike. He obviously he doesn't like lists.
Right.
He made that clear. He
Super
doesn't
clear.
like lists.
Don't end up on a Hugh Freeze list.
Don't end up on a Hugh Freeze list. That's not good for you.
Was that a different world? I'm gonna make it a different world references on a different world where the dorm director, she's walking around and she goes, "You're on my." It's either that or Cosby Show. I can't remember which one.
Dawn? Was it Dawn?
Nah. This is later on in the second class. This ain't the first class.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Ike, we've said that this is Robbie Ashford's job to lose.
Mm-hmm.
We've also said that he could actually lose this job.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like Hugh Freeze has a standard. He has certain expectations, and he will not bend for anyone.
Yep.
On this standard. What do you take? What do you take with that? What do you do with that? Hearing him say that, and
I mean, so I think that just means don't come in here expecting somebody to hand something to you, because it's not going to get just. He is waiting for somebody to take the job. So he's like, listen, I haven't coached any of you guys. I've seen some of you throw. What was interesting, and I get it. I already had the stones thrown at me on Twitter for saying it there. I'm going to say it here. What was interesting is the description of what he said about his evaluation of the quarterbacks thus far. He's like, I've seen them throw on film. I haven't had a chance to coach them. But he said they didn't have a lot of tape for me to evaluate where they weren't running around without a lot of protection or see them operate, blah, 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 this and that. I mean, there's only, 3 throws for you to say that about Holden Garretter. That leads me to believe he watched some TJ film as well. If he's putting the category of them, not him, he didn't say him singular, of people who he watched film on to determine what they were looking like going into the spring. So I know people don't want to hear it, but I think that he's going to let TJ compete in the spring to see what he's got. And he's saying that the evaluation was difficult because I only got a chance to see the vast majority. He's like, a lot of that stuff they're having to run or they're having to roll out away from pressure and stuff like that. So he didn't really get a chance to see what he's got on there.
So in other words, what you're saying is he hasn't come to the conclusion that a lot of fans have come to about our quarterbacks.
About any of them. I don't think he's come to any conclusions about anybody. He's saying nobody has impressed me enough to say he's the guy. We'll see. Somebody get my attention this spring.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's saying that he hasn't seen enough to say that this guy isn't the guy.
Yeah.
So everyone has a.
He hasn't ruled anybody out.
He hasn't ruled anyone out, even though we are. And when I say we, I just mean our fan base.
Our fan base has definitely said that there are some people who they don't want to see start. Actually, I don't know that there's anybody who our fan base has unanimously said that they want to see starting. There are some people who are firmly in the Robbie camp. There are some people who are just like, he ain't it. There ain't nobody out here. Some people are like, I don't know what to think of Holden. I think he can throw. And then the rest of them are like, we don't have an SEC starter on our roster.
But that's what you want to hear if you are a QB in that room.
Yeah.
That lets you know that, hey, I can show this coach something this spring.
Right.
Which is all you're asking. Go ahead.
Competition is open.
Yeah.
That means you're not ruling me out. I can come in here and prove myself.
Game on.
Objectively win this job. That's all anybody who goes to a major program really wants to hear. Tell me that I really have a shot. So you're saying there's a chance.
You know what else I found interesting that he said pretty firmly is that he's not a mechanics guy when it comes to QBs. He's like, I know what I want my QBs to be able to do from a system standpoint, but Ken Austin is the guy who he leans on to do the. He's like, okay, this is what I want him to do. Ken, you go get him ready to do that mechanically. You will work on the fundamental stuff, but this is what the system is going to require. So I don't know that being mechanically sound is going to be the number one thing on his list. If you can get the ball where it's supposed to be on a consistent basis, if it don't look pretty getting there, whatever, I think Hugh Freeze is a results guy is what I'm saying. He's like, it might not have been pretty, but it got where it was supposed to get to, and removing the chains, great, let's keep it moving, right? So, and he also was very clear, I am going to try to build a system around what I think our guys can do well. These are the guys we have in the room. What do they do well? We're going to build our offense around that. I liked a lot of stuff he said, man. I did.
Something else that he talked about, and of course he met with, the media also met with the coordinators, Philip Montgomery. Apparently Hugh Freeze hasn't completely turned over the offense to Philip Montgomery. Recent development here. Shot or nah?
Nah, I mean, well, how long have they been working together? And when I mean working, I mean, have y'all sat down at a table in the meeting room and connected your laptop to the TV and be like, all right, let's come up with the base? No. Hugh Freeze has probably been living on the private jet / car / whatever he's been using to get all around this country to recruit. He hasn't been in the office. So we know that they couldn't have done any type of advanced playbook building. That's not possible yet.
Nah, he said that specifically as well. He's like, look, man, we've had literally like one meeting, and he said they only got through like protections. I forgot which one he said he started with, but yeah.
So with that being the case, you can't expect too much for him to say, all right, we've talked about what it's going to be. We've looked at the guys who are going to be playing, who we think is going to be 1 and 2, and now we've built the playbook around our quarterbacks that we have on the roster. And now I can hand that over to him because I understand him. He understands me, and we understand what we're going for. Until that happens, I wouldn't expect him to turn it over. Now, if there is an opportunity for them to get that done before the fall, then maybe that's when he fully hands over the reins. But until then, I would expect that he has to have his hand on that role and on that job, at least until he feels comfortable. He's going to empower Philip Montgomery as a play caller, as the head man in charge, and as the play caller. He's going to empower Philip Montgomery to do that part of the job, but not until he feels like they have a sound understanding. And that just makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, what he said specifically in the presser was that, he's been calling stuff the same thing since he coached high school, and it's going to take an adjustment for them to figure out, like, what are we calling this particular thing? Because I've been calling it this forever, but you call it this, but it's the same thing. So, like, we need to come up with what our terminology is going to be. And Philip said, wrong one here. Freeze said protections, and we'll do screens next. So that's the first two things that they plan on working on is what are we calling our protection? And then how do we install our screen game? That's interesting. That's like protection. I get that 100% because you got to work with your offensive line up front. It's where it starts. He's been saying that from day one. But I think it's interesting that the next thing that they're going to work on installing is how do we get our screen game on point?
Which has not been on point since how long, Ike? I defer to you on that because I would say forever, but that's a little, hyperbole.
I mean, we have not really been a heavy screen team for a very long time. Like I haven't loved any of our screen packages. I don't know off the top of my head. I couldn't tell you.
I was so disappointed with Harsin. I just knew we would have some different. We did a lot of running back stuff, which was good to see. We didn't do that at all towards the end of Malzahn's tenure, but I really want to see our screen game get back to make the screen game great again, pretty much.
For sure.
I want to see. Also, another comment that was mentioned by another amazing guy named Philip. He says the offensive coordinator, Philip Montgomery, said that they have that he has worked with both types of QBs and will create an offense that will suit whoever gives him the best chance of winning. So he talks about having a very flexible type of offensive system. Thoughts on that, Ike?
Yeah, man, this is what I want to see. I want to see somebody ask us this in a live recently, or maybe it was in the comment section, is, after a video, do we think we finally have a coach that is not going to be so rigid with how they think about developing an offense? And both the head coach and the offensive coordinator have answered that question and said, listen, you have who you have. We'll figure out how to put something in that works well for that person. So if we're going to ride with Robbie Ashford, who is more of a dual threat, then we're going to have stuff that's going to involve running the quarterback, it seems. If the guy is not a runner, which everybody assumes that you got to be a runner to play in this Hugh Freeze offense, I don't know how many times I've had to say that that's not true, but I'll say it again. That's not true, that you have to be a runner to develop to be in Hugh Freeze's offense. Then they're going to have something that doesn't require a quarterback that needs to run.
Right.
That's not that seems like rocket science in this day and age to say, well, you have to recruit this kind of guy to be in this kind of offense, or you could have an offensive coordinator that knows how to adapt their offense to whatever quarterback that they get. So you're just going to go get the best talent available and build something around them.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. We have Mike G is not here with us, as I mentioned earlier, but we got some reinforcements. We got a treat for you guys. As you know, we're always sponsored on the Mid-Week Rapport by auburnsports.com. We're bringing you the guy who's responsible for it all. The Commodore is with us, guys. Mr. J.G. Tate is joining us. How are you, sir?
What up? What up? Hey, I was hanging with Mike G today.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. I saw you not suited and booted. You look kind of you look really casual there.
Yeah, I looked a little I was a little casual.
Yeah.
I had to wear my rival stuff to, promote the brand.
I got you. You had to rep your set. Love the NBA Jam in the background.
I do. I love it. And I play as a Golden State Warriors. I get Timmy Hardaway and I get Chris Mullin, dude. I'm telling you, I'm unstoppable.
Nice.
Yo, what would happen if they had like current day, like Clay and Steph shooting threes from NBA Jam? It'd be nonsense.
And they weren't even born when this game came out, I think.
I know, yeah.
Although if you play as the Mavericks, you get Ron Harper and Ron Harper. I don't understand this.
What?
Yeah, I know. Should be Ro Blackman or something.
Huh.
Yeah.
Commodore, you were there. You met with the staff. You already came on a morning drop a few weeks back, and you were pretty pleased with what you had seen so far. And it was some extreme circumstances that Hugh Freeze walked into, and to salvage it, took some extreme measures, which that happened with the recruiting haul, what they did on early signing period, what they've done with junior day, what they've done with the transfer portal. It's been remarkable to watch. Having to sit down with and talk to some of the members of that staff, what more have you gleaned from them, and what is your sentiment about Hugh Freeze and the coordinators?
Yeah, I think the thing that stuck out to me today was just the autonomy he's given these guys, particularly Monty, they call him usually, and Ron, the defensive coordinator. I think those guys really have a ton of autonomy. And I'm not surprised about Ron, but with Montgomery, I know he's been a head coach at Tulsa for 8 years, but nonetheless, it's going to be tough for Hugh to not be calling plays because he's done that his whole career.
Right.
And then here comes Philip Montgomery. And I really enjoyed spending some time with him today and getting an idea for how he's going to collaborate here. And Hugh had some nice things to say about how they're trying to marry these two offensive philosophies that are similar, but they're going to have to sit down and hash this stuff out before they start practice and kind of come to some conclusions. You guys are talking about verbiage, come to some common words and things like that. So I think a lot of this guy, he does not remind me of an offensive coordinator, because typically they're weird people that like Jeff Grimes is kind of an odd character. He's an offensive coordinator now at Baylor. Like Noel Mazzoni's weird. Mike Leach is weird. Hal Mummy was weird. Like they're all like that.
Lane Kiffin's weird. Gus Malzahn's weird.
Yes, Gus was weird. Yeah. Gus is definitely weird.
Yeah, for sure.
But Philip Montgomery's not. Philip Montgomery reminds me of a defensive coordinator. He is all buttoned up and ready for business. So I'm interested to see how that works out.
He strikes me as someone who doesn't have much of an ego, because you go from being a head coach, you've been a coordinator, you go to be a head coach, and then you come back your next job and you're potentially sharing play calling duties. And so it says a lot to me about feeling that way, that, you know, you would kind of want some sort of autonomy returning back to your native position or the thing that you really excelled at in the beginning. But I didn't know if you took that from talking to Philip. JJ.
I mean, he hasn't told me this, but I think he's stung a little bit by getting fired at Tulsa. I mean, because he was a legitimately really good coach at Tulsa, one of the best they've ever had. Got him to bowl games, and I think he felt a little stung that he got fired there. So the fact that he's an offensive coordinator right now, I think he's on a reclamation tour in a sense. Like, all right, if you want to doubt me, fine. I'm going to show you what I can do, and I'm interested to see what he does. I don't think he's going to be a big risk taker, which is good and bad. If they're able to grind the football and get enough out of the passing game, it's not going to matter. He's just going to grind people down. He's going to have to get some more linemen to do that, though.
That's going to be interesting, though, philosophically, though, because
need more depth.
Because Hugh Freeze made it seem like he's like, you know, in certain scenarios he's going to be calling the play. So is Hugh Freeze going to be risk averse? I don't know if that he just doesn't strike me as the risk averse type. Like it feels like he's playing with house money a little bit right now because of, you know, look, Auburn really can't afford to fire another head coach. Like literally, like monetarily can't afford to fire another head coach.
Right.
And he realizes that, you know, what was in the cupboard, he talked about it. He's like, he's never walked into a situation where he needed to go and get 9 guys just to fill out his offensive line room. So he feels like maybe, hey, I'm playing with house money a little bit. Let's go out here and take some gambles and you know, throw some caution to the wind. I think it's going to be interesting to see kind of the juxtaposition of those two as someone who comes off as a conservative, hey, we'll live for the next down guy, versus a guy who maybe is feeling like, hey, we need to make it happen. Let's go get it. Let's go do it. So I don't know. We'll see how
a lot of that. Don't you think some of that has to do with what do you have in the QB room? If your trigger man, if your trigger man is a guy you can trust, you get him in there, you feel like he's understanding your concepts and he's picking it up quickly enough. Then when you get into the season, you know you can, hey, I can gamble with this because I know he gets it. But if he doesn't, then you kind of have to protect him, and you kind of have to say call a little safer.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just I know you guys were talking earlier about the quarterback situation. I told you guys last time I was on, I don't think the quarterback for Auburn next fall is here yet. I don't think it's gonna be Robbie. And I thought it was interesting today that Hugh was like, I got to have a quarterback that's a leader, which Robbie is, and I got to have a quarterback who does not get freaked out when things are going poorly. And I'm not sure that's Robbie. Robbie's very emotionally invested in what's going on, and I like that in a football player. But that's not what they're not asking me; they're asking Hugh. And so when he said that, I kind of thought either that is not good for Robbie, or Robbie needs to make an adjustment and show in the spring that even when bad things are happening.
I got the latter. I took the latter with that, JG.
Right. I can see that.
And in the beginning, before you jumped on, I said, listen, we have lamented this offseason that this QB1 is Robbie's job to lose, but make no mistake, he can absolutely lose it. Especially if he doesn't show what Hugh Freeze is looking for. So
yeah, and I get the feeling Hugh Freeze is like, look, it's this or you're not playing, right? Like it's not one of those, you know, coach, my bad. It's like, no, not my bad. Go sit on the bench, right? So if in spring you're blowing up and you're hanging your head and it's like, yeah, coach, no, we don't need that.
No coddling, basically.
Yeah, if it's gonna be like that today during a scrimmage, I can't put you out there in front of 90,000, dude. I can't.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to figure it out.
I see in the chat here Corey W., who's a War Report legend. He thinks Grayson McCall is going to be the quarterback, and I tend to agree with him. I think it's going to be Grayson McCall. I really do.
So I guess that's a question I wanted to ask, because Grayson McCall pulled his name out of the
Grayson McCall whisperer. he has been
Are we manifesting Grayson McCall as an Auburn fan base here?
Grayson McCall hive and Leo Berman hive, baby. Let's get it. It's my two. I ride for him.
JG, like of course we know what happened with him. He pulled his name out of the portal. Is he expected to graduate this spring and then transfer?
Ooh, yeah. If that's the machination, I would expect. But is he going to graduate? That's up to him.
I think that's the more difficult part of this. Is like
that's the thing we need. That's the thing you need to manifest more so, right?
It sounds good in theory, but like I don't know if he's got the math to be able to do it. I don't know what his actual math scores are. I'm saying like the math of how many credit hours he needs to be able to get there. So
well, the good news is that if he graduates, okay, the problem is that if he transfers in as an active undergrad from Coastal, you've got to play this like matching classes game, like
Yeah.
because Auburn doesn't offer the major that he's in at Coastal, so you got to go class for class, and it's a real pain in the ass. This is what happened to Desi Sills on the basketball court a couple years ago or a year ago. Same kind of thing. If he graduates, now you just got to get him into a graduate program, and you don't have to worry about this class for class, credit for credit business. It does simplify things. It doesn't make it easier necessarily, or I don't really know the specifics of a situation, but not having to go class for class would be one hurdle that Auburn would be very stoked about not having to mess with.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It seems almost a given that the coaching staff, I mean, they did look for a QB in the transfer portal this first go around. Things just didn't work out. It's almost, I don't know what quality QBs, assuming Grayson can't graduate. It's interesting to see who actually you can get out of the portal the second time around, because it's obviously going to be younger guys or guys who just didn't make it wherever they were. Unless you're in a situation where you have a new head coach come in and you just don't fit what they do now. What's the quality of QB can you get, assuming, let's just go worst case scenario, Hugh Freeze needs to go into the portal and get a QB. What quality QBs can potentially be out there, and how much pressure is that given the second time around? None of these guys have gone through a spring at Auburn.
Well, I mean, yeah, you have to hustle. You'd probably get them in May. I mean, that portal opens in April, and then you can maybe start doing stuff in May with them reasonably. But I don't know who it's going to be. There's going to be kids out there who are number twos right now who are pissed off, and they're ready to bounce and go somewhere where they can actually compete and go in. And Hugh's going to have to feel good enough about that guy to say, hey, I will give you a chance to compete against Robbie, against Holden, whoever comes out of spring at the top. So it's going to have to be somebody like that. They're going to keep an eye on Grayson McCall. There's no doubt about it. So that's that. I mean, I don't know who else is going to be pursuing him. I mean, maybe some big teams need a quarterback. I know Florida talked to him initially.
Florida was in talks with him for sure.
Yeah.
They couldn't get him in school either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently Coastal only offers degrees in making donuts, so you got to go and
the only degrees you can get at Coastal is deodorant.
Guys, it's Coastal Carolina. I mean, it's not Auburn. Says the guy who I got a degree from Transylvania University. Okay, so I'm not going to talk too much junk.
So you talk with Ron Roberts, defensive coordinator.
Yes,
I like the mentality he had. Is sometimes you hear you want to as offensive guys, you want to work on your tempo so you don't leave your defense out to dry, and that's one of the things that I have bashed Lane Kiffin for at Ole Miss, is that he leaves his defenses out to dry for different reasons, obviously. But one of the things I've heard Phil Montgomery talk about, Hugh Freeze talk about, is they've learned being head coaches that sometimes you have to not so much just go fast, but actually control the tempo of the game, which means you're not always going fast. They asked Ron Roberts a similar question, and he basically said, listen, my job is to get off the field. I mean, that's cool. That's great, but I need to get my team off the field. If you can help me out, that's cool, but that's really my job. I like that mentality, that attitude. What was your mentality? What did you take from, I don't know if you had a chance to talk to Ron Roberts, but what was your take on him?
Yeah, that was my question, actually, when I was asking him about that, because Philip had said, just like you said, control the tempo, not necessarily hit the accelerator all the time. And I think that's because when Gus was coming up, right, tempo was enough. But defense is going to the, they've changed so many things formationally and personnel-wise.
More schools are doing it.
Yeah, they've caught up to that. So now you just got to control the tempo. Going fast isn't enough. And then Ron was like, hey, man, if he's got to worry about me and his play calling, I need to step up my game. And I just thought it was funny. He's been a head coach a lot, too. He got to the semifinals at Delta State. Coach at Southeast.
He was a good head coach.
Yeah, he really was.
He just jumped to at a coordinator at a larger school, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we also, me and Philip Marshall mentioned Jeff Grimes to him and just kind of got a nah. Like the guy, I don't think they're homies. Yeah, I'm surprised. It's like, okay. He's interesting though. He's kind of a funny dude. He reminds me more of an offensive coordinator, and then Philip Montgomery reminds me more of a defensive coordinator. But just from a personality standpoint, that's all.
Yeah, for sure.
I just liked how Ron Roberts talked about stuff. he just seems really no nonsense, man. He's like, look, man, just do your job, man. Like, I just his whole attitude is just like, man, just look, man, just go out there and do your job. Like, we'll get you in the right position and go out there and do your job. I don't see him, because usually when you think about defensive coordinators, you think about these really fiery, like he doesn't come across like that. He comes, to your point, JG. He, like, offensive coordinators are usually like these, for lack of a better words, like these football nerds that are just like into like the details of like, oh yeah, because we had this backside cross, and he just like, they start talking ball and you're just like, yo, slow down, bro. Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And defensive guys are usually like, we're gonna smash people. Like, they're very like the
intense.
Hulk, right?
Intense.
Like, just smash it. Ron Roberts is not that kind of, he doesn't come off that way, at least from listening to the interview.
You know, he joked. I mean, I think it was it Pablo Escobar on Twitter? Like, he took his Avi, and I was like, he has a sense of humor, it seems. And then in the interview, I could see his personality come out. So yeah, he's a pretty like laid, but like a funny dude in a sense. So
he is.
So again, we haven't seen these guys. We haven't seen any play on the field for us to like or dislike them. So we're just going based off of conversation. Like them both as of right now. They're pretty likable, but we'll definitely, I want to get your take on Junior Day, how they've been recruiting, your thoughts on that, JG, when we come back. Also, we're going to talk a little B-ball as well. So stay tuned for that. Guys, you're watching the Midweek Rapport. Please do us a favor. Share this content, smash the like button, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. What are you doing with your life? Help us get the 10K. We're close. Greatly appreciate it. Let's pay some bills and acknowledge our sponsors.
This edition of the War Report is made possible by our generous sponsors. AuburnSports.com. For news and notes on all things Auburn Sports, head over to AuburnSports.com. Athletic Architects. For young athletes looking to secure their financial future, let Athletic Architects help you to build your financial house. Head over to buildthehouse.com. And our giveaway sponsor, War Eagle Oil. War Eagle Oil is your #1 place for all of your motor oil and related products. For more information, visit wareagleoil.com.
Yes, indeed. Thank you to the sponsors of the War Report, and thank you to those of you who have decided to become members of the War Report family. You can get your membership going right now. $3.99 get you to supporter level, $5.99 patron level. You get all of the things like just special lives that we're doing. I am in the midst of this off-season watch the film content. You guys got to check it out. It is available to those of you who are members. I do have the one that's public right now that I did today with Robbie Ashford throws. It was just throws from the first 3 games, but I literally have every single throw that Robbie Ashford made this past season in a film cut up, and I'm going to go through all of them on film between now and whenever I get done walking through them. So you want to become a member if you want to check that stuff out. You can gift a membership to somebody right now in YouTube, right there from the live chat. Just click the gift box. First month of membership will be on you to whoever YouTube randomly assigns that to. We're doing a giveaway this live and all of the lives. War Eagle Oil sponsors that giveaway today. Get your weight up. Hashtag get your weight up right now in the live chat if you want to be eligible for that. And then from an audio standpoint, you can check us out at the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report, wherever you listen to podcasts. We are there. Get your audio content up. We got audio-only content like Mike Mack and the Memes, Live Town, and the A-Man Corner podcast, all available at the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report.
I'm going to grab some comments, guys, before we get back into the discussion. Got a comment here. Can we be real about Robbie? He's a great athlete, but not our solution. And yes, I do like the guy.
I don't know there's any way to determine whether or not he's
spring ball will get us much closer to making that determination. I'm looking forward to that. Again, people have their opinions.
Here's what I'll say. I'm not mad at anybody who came to that conclusion based upon what you saw last year, because he didn't show amazing ability last year.
That's right.
But to assume that he can't get there, I think, is a different story altogether, just because of how much football he's actually played in the last 3 years of his life.
Yeah, for sure.
So, listen, having that opinion is completely fine to have. I'm just hoping that if he's going to be the guy, he steps up, because I think he's got a ton of talent.
Leanne Owen says, seriously, guys, has Hugh Freeze done more in 2 weeks than the last folks did in 2 years?
So it's hard to not agree with this statement, considering, well, at least from the standpoint of what he did in the transfer portal on offense.
He has. He's definitely done more.
See,
I mean,
no,
listen,
yeah,
I can argue that there was a lot of really great contributors that came in on the defensive side of the football in the last 2 years that Auburn has been better for. I think that there's been some great things that happened, but yeah, man, I think the 2 weeks is at least equivalent. I don't know if it's more, but it's at least equivalent in 2 weeks than 2 years, and that's kind of a sad statement to make.
When you look at the offensive line, I think that's.
Offensive line. That's more than we've done in the last 6 years, offensive line wise. So there's literally no debate about whether or not we've upgraded the offensive line room better in 2 weeks than we had in the past 5-6 years.
Yeah. To me, the most telling thing is hearing recruits say Auburn's different. To me, I was like, oh.
I'm always going to wonder if that's because we can put some receipts on the table that we couldn't put on the table for the last 6 years. It is not lost on me that yes, Hugh Freeze is more likable than our last two head coaches. That yes, Hugh Freeze has a better record with offense in the last few years than both of our last two head coaches, and also NIL is up, running, and doing work. I don't think we can completely separate those two. But I mean, right now it's to his credit because he's getting the names that appear to be exactly what we needed. So we got to give him passing. He's getting passing grades, A+ right now until we get to the spring and we see some QBs play.
Yeah.
Stuart Donald says, how are we going to sign an Under Armour All-American punter and it not change our class ranking? None of the services have acknowledged Gabe Russo as a recruit yet.
Do they put PWOs on there?
Yeah, he's a walk-on.
I don't think they do. I don't think they do.
So that's probably why.
Yeah, I don't think they do because I think the running back kid, I haven't seen his name appear up on any of the recruiting sites as well.
Yeah,
we signed him. I think was he out of Mobile? I think he was in state. He was a walk-on running back. So I didn't see him.
I know. I remember who you're talking about, but I can't remember where he's from. So yeah.
James Barnett says, fellas, is Phillip being there more about Hugh Freeze? I think the coaches are really bought into the Freeze effect. Thoughts?
We're asking about Phillip Montgomery?
Yeah, I don't understand what that means. Being there more about Freeze. I don't know what that means right off.
I guess, going back to the conversation about
the point you made about him wanting to prove himself after being fired from Tulsa. And he was asking, is he at Auburn because of Hugh Freeze?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he said today that he didn't know. I mean, he knew the name Hugh Freeze, but didn't have his phone number or anything. So Hugh just kind of called him and they started talking, and that sounded like a decent match for him. I mean, Auburn's a high-level school, and you're playing at a very high-level conference. So if you're trying to prove yourself, it's a good spot to be in.
Agreed. JG, we had Junior Day. And I think this is one of the more hyped Junior Days that I can recall in recent memory. I can't think of another Junior Day that people just had a lot of eyes on. But to me, it was like an open house for the state of Alabama, for a lot of recruits that they're trying to get 2024 and beyond. Even had the high school kid, the kid out of Thompson, who's an 8th grader, I think, 14-year-old, who led them to a state championship. It was an opportunity for them to just basically do what Hugh Freeze has told recruits: come and see. Right? They came and talked to the coaches. They came and toured the facilities. Everyone is saying it was been a success, but it almost seems like a capping off what has been months of amazing momentum in terms of recruiting.
Yeah.
How important was Junior Day for this coaching staff?
It's crucial. I mean, short of, their rally in December to get those kids signed, I mean, this is the biggest thing. I mean, last year, a Junior Day had, I think, 13 kids. And this time it was at least 120, and it could have been as high as 160, 170.
Wow.
I mean, it was just tons and tons of kids and parents and folks. And that's what you got to do. You got to spread out and get to everybody so that at least everybody has a chance to get to know you a little bit. And they had some studs in here. They ended up getting a commitment out of Jaden out of that, but They also had Zion Ferguson, who's a fantastic defender, LSU commit out of Atlanta, and then Jamarian Burnett out of Andalusia, the tailback. I'm telling you, some studs. A-Train was here as well, the tailback out of Elba, 25 kid. I think that could be like your Carnell Ronnie group right there if they're able to get those two kids. So anyway, they're going after high-level kids. They're going after mid-level kids. They're just going after everybody right now, trying to get those relationships reestablished between Auburn and these schools, which was neglected for a long time, and this is a big part of that.
How would you assess how this coaching staff has done in terms of building relationship with high school coaches in the state of Alabama and Georgia?
Real good. I mean, as good as they could do. I mean, Hugh's been out there every single minute that he can possibly be out there, just visiting everybody. And I mean, he went to Thompson, of course, the big schools like that, Viger, the places that have always kicked out kids that are incredible. But he also goes some out of the way places too, like Ashford or up to Hackleburg. I mean, he goes to all kinds of places, and he's just trying to get back out there. And that's the way you do it. You just show up and say, hey, I don't know what was going on before. It doesn't make any sense to me, but I'm here now, and I love you guys, and let's get this thing going. It's the only way you can approach it. Yeah. And the difference is he's putting the actual effort in, and he's going every single minute he can. He really, really went at it, and that's all you can do. And you just try to clean up the mess that's been created. And they've done a good job. I mean, fortunately, Trevon, Zacchaeus, Crime, even though he's just come back, I mean, he still knows all these people. Some of those relationships were already there. Cadillac's done a lot of stuff over in Georgia, so you're not starting at zero, and that's good.
Of this recruiting class, if you had to pick one, we're gonna do transfer portal for a second, but let's do this signing class out of high school. What kid are you most looking forward to see what they can do? If you had to pick one,
regardless of like their position, you know what I mean? Probably Quay Sori from the Florida Panhandle coming in, wide receiver. And I think a lot of this kid, and one of the reasons I love him is I think he's an incredible football player, but he played at a small school in the Florida Panhandle, not near any bright lights or anything, and they weren't great. But he's great, and J.C. Hart's kind of like this too. I just want to see what Sori can do. I think he's got some really special qualities. The issue is that he's in a room with a lot of guys who can play football pretty well, I think.
There's a lot of dudes in that room.
Yes, there are. So I don't think he's got the cleanest shot at playing time, but I do think he's got some real star qualities. And I'm very interested to see that.
You throw on his film, he looks like a playmaker.
Absolutely.
And there's certain things that, when I evaluate high school film, it's difficult because you're like, man, he's like 4 inches taller than everybody else, 100 pounds heavier than everybody else. He's running past kids that aren't even in his class. But man, I don't know, man. Like you said, he just looks like he got something special about him when you see the ball in his hands. I'm just like, I don't know. This dude might be a guy that slips under the radar. He might be like, Jarquez Hunter when you see him get on the field. Like he wasn't highly recruited, but golly, he could play football.
I'm thinking like Courtney Taylor, who played at a 1A school in Pickens County, Alabama, and he come over here and it was like, who is this kid? And he was good from the start, man. I mean, absolutely. And all the time I've covered Auburn since the 90s, I mean, I love the stories of the guys that had nothing coming from behind. I mean, Dontarius Thomas is one that's obviously famous. Roderick Hood comes from a walk-on from Columbus, Georgia, ends up being a stud, goes to the NFL. Yeah. I mean, there's so many. Auburn's such a great place for that. And DeQuavius Sori may end up being a guy just like that.
Joey Fried Rice says Falk. And Brian says Ike getting up and dancing when Falk signed was hilarious. That was a special day. Falk signing, not you getting up and dancing, Ike. But what
seeing me dance is definitely special.
So your thoughts about Falk, JG?
Stud. Yeah, he's outstanding. I mean, if you're talking about the crown jewel of the class, he's probably the one for me. To get him flipped from Florida State took work that people put in, a lot of people at different levels. And I like Keldrick a lot. I think this is the right place for him anyway. I always thought that. He's from Highland Home, Alabama, which is about, 40 minutes south of where I am in Montgomery. Very small school. Similar story to DeQuavius Sori, where he's kind of an out of nowhere school. But we all knew how good he was, and he went to camps and showed out. And you also get the benefit of his younger brother, JJ, being an absolute stud, and he may end up being as good as Keldrick, if not better. And if Keldrick comes here and has a great experience like I think he will, then, it's a slam dunk case to get his brother here. And then you get 2 for 1. I mean, that's incredible. I think he's going to play right away. I do. Keldrick, I think he'll be part of the rotation this year.
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you think he actually cracks that rotation, given kind of how thin the edge position is going into spring?
I do. Yeah, it's going to take some adjustment for him because I think Ron Roberts wants a little bit more out of that position than Keldrick's been asked to do in the past. But I think he has the athleticism and the just the mental acuity to get in there and get going really quickly. I think a lot of the kid. He's overcome a lot in his life. He's a resilient young man, and he's an outstanding athlete. I think he'll be the guy to get there. I don't think he'll be the number one guy coming in, but he'll play.
I think he'll probably be a sub package guy, but he'll get some snaps, right? Like
something like Romello, right off the bat.
Yeah. Sherman Sawyer says Cobb. He's excited about Cobb. That was our signee. Amazing backs, a lot of speed. Again, that's the caddy effect there. I'm excited about him. Corey Weber
Cobb
says
fits really well. Sorry to interrupt that. Cobb fits really well in what I think Coach Hugh. What's amazing is he wasn't recruited initially by the Freeze staff, but I think he fits really well in what Coach Hugh Freeze wants from a running back. Like the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. Like he wants a guy who can do a little bit of everything. And Jeremiah Cobb fits that to a T. Like he is very much the Alvin Kamara type of like catch it out of the backfield, speed, just quickness off of, he's that guy, man. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does. I don't know that he jumps anybody in this rotation with, Batee coming in. Gonna take some of those snaps, and Jarquez Hunter he's a do everything kind of back as well, and then you still got Damari Austin there, so I think you have the space absent of injury to let him redshirt a year and then just be a freaking monster coming in year 2. But I think
Jarquez is leaving after next year. Make no mistake.
I'd be shocked if Jarquez Hunter makes it to a senior year unless he just has some sort of injury or something crazy happens with him. But he's the kind of back that can make it to the next level because he's willing to literally do anything. So it's like, I don't care if I'm your 5th string running back off I'll go play special teams for you. No problem. Right. I'll make the roster. I'll make your 53-man roster. And then I'll just beat whoever else just by working harder than them when I get into the room.
For sure. Corey Dubb mentions Deron Reed. A lot of people have been high on him. Even so much more than Falk. I've seen JC Hart, Anthony Grant. Appreciate you hanging out with us. He mentions JC Hart. Coaches have been really high on him for sure. So I'm excited about what he's going to do. You may not be able to see much of that this year because we already have how many in the DB room, Ike? How many players?
Something like 532, I think.
532 now. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
So what it is Zach Etheridge's ultimate plan is to recruit enough DBs to play offense and defense at all 22 positions. And I think
we're actually going to be the first team ever to run an 11 package where it's just 11 DBs on the field at the same time.
Yeah.
An 11 alignment.
Yep.
Yeah. Gotcha. 0 front.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's telling to me that JC Hart had Southern Cal come in at the last minute and try to steal him. They don't go after scrubs. Not that anyone thought he was, but that tells you how much they thought of him.
Yeah,
for sure. JG, let's talk transfer portal, guys. Got to pick one that you are the most excited about, one that you're looking to see what they are going to do this upcoming spring year. Who did you see sign on and said, you know what, my eyes are on him?
The name is escaping me, which makes it seem like I don't care, but it's the center from East Carolina.
Avery Jones.
Avery Jones. Thank you.
Me and Ike mentioned him.
That's my guy.
I keep, the Raiders center is Andre James, and that's why I get mixed up about it. And we got to figure out something the Raiders do about him. We got to pay him. But anyway, the kid from East Carolina, finally Auburn's going to get that center that's like an anchor, that's a physical anchor that can play the position. Because I've always felt like Nick was a good center, technically speaking, but he just didn't have the strength. And I think that this young man comes in. I've seen his PFF grades from East Carolina, and they're very good.
Impressive.
They got a lot better. He's obviously a guy that's been getting much better. To have him come in here and just kind of be like maybe like a Reese Smooks kind of guy where you lock down, you're tough as hell at that position, and you know what you're doing. I think that sets the tone for this whole offensive line revamp. And if he's as good as I think he is, I'm going to be very excited to see him play. I like offensive line anyway. So,
I mean, we've watched Nick Brahms mature. We watched him become a leader up front. And so to see him get injured last year was a devastating blow to our offensive line. And obviously guys behind him got injured as well. So I'm excited to see some stability at that position. I'm hoping Avery Jones comes in and takes that position by the horns and pretty much is a starter. There's going to be some interesting competition along the front. So I'm excited about him. He's definitely one of mine for sure. Think we got here. Someone mentioned, James Barnett asked about, what about the new freshman QB that followed Freeze
This is Hank
to Auburn?
Yeah. That's a tough one, man. I have not met him, so I don't know much about him. I just don't know. I mean, obviously
Freeze likes him.
Yeah, Freeze likes him. Well, we'll just see. It's cool that he took a couple of these Liberty kids with him. Probably those are the guys he felt the strongest about.
Yeah.
Sherman says, I want to see what Tolan can do. Now, Auburn was really close to landing this guy a year ago, and it was disappointing when he decided to go to LSU. He's back. How do you feel about the linebacker group, actually?
Better. I mean, you think of Tolan, for me, it's kind of a money backer, and then the kid from Ole Miss will probably be your Mike backer, is what I'm thinking.
Keys.
Yeah, Keys is probably what you're looking at there. They wanted DeMario Tolan for sure out of high school, and didn't get a lot of run at LSU. I think that's a big time get. I mean, for them, we'll see what he can do. I mean, he's coming in, he's going to play. I'm infatuated with this kid Devin that they've been recruiting out of Brunswick, Georgia. 6'3" outside linebacker that they had here for the.
They're recruiting, it seems like 100 linebackers.
Yeah, they want linebackers. They want linebackers.
Think that's a priority?
I think so.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
Listen, man, that room has been thin, and with the scheme that Roberts runs, like, you got to have just kind of a dominant nose zero tech guy that can slide around the front, and you've got to have linebackers that are physical downhill, because the outsides, right? Like, they're going to play a lot of different stuff around the outside, right? You're going to have the jack, like he was talking, that JG was talking about Falk, right? If Falk is going to be your rush in, sometimes he's going to ask him to drop back in coverage. How often has he done that? How well can he cover in space in the zone? We don't know the answer to that yet, right? So your outside guys need to be a little more versatile, but those inside guys, they in order for them to do all the crazy stuff he wants to do on the outside, you need to not worry about the run with those middle five, the 3 down linemen and those 2 middle linebackers. Those guys need to basically cause havoc against the run so that we can go crazy on the outsides.
For sure. Let's see here. What else we got? Corey says Keys needs to lock down the middle linebacker position. Somebody need to lock down the position, that's for sure. I definitely want to see some competition there. I want to talk competition. I guess we can do it now before we get to the drawing. Like, as you begin to get that ready. JG, what position group you think opposite of QB? I mean, I guess obviously QB one is going to be some fierce competition there. Offensive line, obviously, just those have just been the positions pain points for this offense.
Oh yeah.
What are some position groups that you expect to see some fierce competition, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, there's so many defensive backs. We were joking earlier, 11-man defensive back outfit there. I want to see who rises to the top out there. He's got a lot of good ones. He's got some young ones that I think a lot of. I love what we saw from JD Rim late in the season.
Yeah.
I think he's got a chance to move up and be a stud this year. So that's one I'm going to keep an eye on. But I think the one that piques my interest isn't necessarily going to be the most hotly contested, but the offensive line. I want to see if these dudes are as good as we've been told they would be.
Right.
The kid from Western Kentucky, can he play at this level?
Right.
Yeah.
The center we were talking about from East Carolina, is he ready to play here? Can he go into a scrimmage and provide the kind of resistance that we haven't seen in the last few years? If they can, it changes how I feel a lot about this team's general outlook, because I think they can score points. If without that, they can't.
JG, how are you on time, man?
I got a few minutes.
Let's talk some basketball.
Hell yeah, I love basketball.
I mentioned the drawing, but let's talk basketball so we can respect your time. Auburn picked up a commitment yesterday in basketball. Point guard from the 2024 class, and I believe another kid is Phylon supposed to be announcing tomorrow. I think he's 2024.
Yeah, they're both 2024 point guards.
How you feel about basketball right now? Obviously, Bruce is out here recruiting, but how do you feel about the 2022-23 version of Auburn basketball so far? They curb stomped Georgia in a revenge game last night.
They did.
How do you feel about them going on the road against Tennessee?
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one. Here's the thing. I don't want to sound negative here. They're 7-2 in the league. That's a fine start. Listen, I mean, the guys of us been watching Auburn basketball for 20 years or longer. 7-2 start in the SEC. That's pretty dang unusual.
That's good.
Right.
They got 2 games against Tennessee still coming. They got 2 games against Bam Bam still coming. They still got to go to Rupp where they have not won with BP. It's going to be bumpy. It's going to be a bumpy second half. Yeah, I mean, Missouri's part of this little 4-game stretch.
A&M again.
At A&M is going to be a challenge as well. So they still have an Ole Miss game here, I think, and then they have a Mississippi State game that I think they can win those, and Vanderbilt too.
Vandy, yeah.
So I think 9 wins in the league, and they're only 2 away from that. Gets you in the NCAA tournament. 10 for sure gets you in. So I think
it's 10 is doable too.
Yeah, I definitely think 10 is doable. Yeah. So I think they're getting in the tournament as like an 8 seed or a 7 seed, but there's going to be some bumpy moments here in February. It's just going to happen. It's going to happen.
People forget that it got real bumpy for the team that made it to the Final Four, and then all of a sudden the light came on. So I'm curious to see if they're able to weather the storm and how they look for sure.
Yes, that Final Four team, got run out of the gym at Rupp late. I think it was their next to last regular season game. So just remember that
it was embarrassing.
25, 30 points.
Yeah.
But this team can't shoot very well. So, and that team did.
Yeah. I mean, the difference for that team is that they started playing better defense, right? As the season went along, they could always shoot. They could shoot the entire season. The problem was they couldn't stop. They couldn't really stop people at a high level. They weren't playing defense well. And then you had, Chuma just, I don't know what woke up in Chuma late season. And he was just like, man, enough of this. I'm just going to be a guy. He just went out there and started dropping 20 on everybody all of a sudden, right? So very drastically different. I do think if Jalen Williams figures out he can be Chuma Okeke to some degree of like, I can score at all 3 levels, let me just be confident in that ability, he can start putting up 15 to 20 points a game himself consistently against guys. So we'll see. Because he plays good defense. He can shoot the ball well. He's kind of just in the right place at the right time. The coaches trust him. He can do all the stuff. He doesn't have the handle, right? Like Chuma, more guard ability. I'm not saying he plays like him. I'm just talking about the contribution he can bring on the offensive end. So.
What do you think about Flanny last night, JG?
Incredible. Best game he's had in maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
And there was a scout there, a couple of scouts from the NBA there, and I think they were pretty impressed with what he showed last night. He had the explosiveness, 0 turnovers in his entire time last night. Scored, I don't remember what it was, 18-ish points. 22. Okay, my bad.
22.
And just looked like a really good player. Like, 2 months ago we were like, wing, they don't have much. And all of a sudden now it's like, oh, they're good at wing. They just need a 2, which I don't think they have right now.
Yeah.
We thought Westry was going to be the 2.
Yeah, me too. He just wasn't ready. He's just not ready. He's working scout team right now. And then when they're not scouting, like in practice, he's running with the guys and having a good time and cutting up. So, he's right there with him. But he didn't think he was ready. And same for Yo. Some of this two guard solution could be Todd Pettifer, the kid you talked about out of New Jersey, 2024 kid that committed the other day. And again, in basketball, when you commit, they stay. You don't usually see decommits in basketball. So
unless the coach loses his job.
Unless the coach leaves or gets fired. Todd Pettiford's about 5'11", left-handed. He reminds me of Damon Stoudemire. Those of you who are old enough to remember who he is.
Yeah.
Just super quick, and he just has that little push shot with his left hand. He's a mess, man. He's a mess to deal with as a defense. And then LeBaron Philon, who's going to commit tomorrow. I strongly suspect Auburn's going to get this kid. 6'3" right now, plays at Baker High School in Mobile. In a game about 2 weeks ago, he scored 30 consecutive points. I think he's leading the country in scoring. The only reason he's not a superstar 5-star is that he plays on a kind of out of the nowhere AAU team and plays an EYBL with them. So he could be playing for a CP3 team or maybe AOT, but he just didn't. But Auburn knows what he is. Auburn's been all over him for 2 years now, and I think it's going to pay off.
You think there's a chance that Pettifor puts on a couple more inches in the next couple of years, and you think he's got some more room to grow, or is he going to still be one of the tiny guards? Because
he's still a thin dude. Man. He's still a really thin dude. I don't think he'll ever be bulky. at all, so it's always going to be a challenge for him physically, but I think he's just got the quickness in the left hand. He really likes getting out there and just
He's
going at
smooth.
you.
Like
He is.
like when you watch him play, I mean, that's one of the things I liked about Chance Restreet. Like he doesn't, some guys look like they're doing a lot of stuff, and like he just kind of is like, I'm getting into my stuff. Yeah, okay, bucket, and then go back down the other. Like everything's just kind of like, I've been playing basketball, like I was in the womb dribbling up the amniotic fluid or something. Like he just a hooper, man, and I like his game.
I do want to give Auburn credit on this one because that's 2 point guards we're talking about. LeBaron Philon, 6'3" point guard from Mobile, we're talking about, who's going to commit tomorrow, and then Tahad, 5'11" point guard. Well, wait, why would Auburn want to take 2 point guards in the same class? Well, it's because Auburn thinks they can play together and blend together really well. And Auburn took a gamble and said, we're going to recruit you guys essentially together, and we encourage you guys to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they did talk about it, and they got to be buddies, and they said, you know what, let's play together. I like it. And so that's what they're going to do, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, that talking about competition, the guard competition next year is going to be interesting because it's a lot of guards. I mean, you're going to lose Zep, but everybody else is going to be back next year.
I mean, in theory, yeah.
Yeah, well, yes, in theory, all of them will be back next year.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. One more. JG, Philip Coleman says if KD can get some consistency and stop making bad decisions, he could contribute 12 points a game.
He's done better about that recently, though. I don't think KD's played crazy, like out of control.
I agree.
He hasn't been a story in our games. Like he hasn't been a theme, if it makes sense. So I agree. He has been playing.
And he actually this Georgia game is, speaking of one of the better games he's played, I think that's probably the best game he's played all season, all around, was this Georgia game. Like he had a couple of good assists in that game. He played good defense. He was aggressive in getting the ball to the lane, hit a couple of jump shots. Like I thought he played well.
Well, he had to get a little talking to after the first half. He had some bad looks in the first half. He was taking some bad looks. Shots. And then the second half, you're right. He was part of that avalanche, and I think he had 11 of 13 points there in the second half. So, yeah, I thought he was terrific in the second half against Georgia. Just for him, it's consistency, like your poster said, and I just don't know if he'll ever get there. But when he's hot, man, he's really good.
I mean, that's why we've enjoyed him because, again, he get on a spurt, and he'll just play out of his mind, emotional, all that. Janai Broom, how critical is it going to be for him to be very physical going down this stretch? I mean, he has been money in the paint for Auburn, and he's become a double machine.
Sometimes.
Yeah, there's a couple of games where he did, but gosh, man, he had 18 and 19 in this last game.
He only played 22 minutes, man. He could have easy, 25 and 25.
Yeah.
For him, it's just motor. It's not skill. It's not ability. It's just motor for him. It's like the opposite of KD. Sometimes he just seems like he's engaged like he was last night. Other games, it just doesn't seem like he's even in it. I don't know how to explain it. He's kind of a goofball. I mean that in a good way. Like he's a good-natured, funny guy, like out on the court and stuff, like when they're practicing. But sometimes he just doesn't put it in gear, and he's just got to learn how to do that.
Yeah, for sure. JG, we appreciate you, my good friend.
Love you guys.
People know where to find you, but for the uninitiated, let them know.
Yeah, I run the website auburnsports.com, and we have been champions, friends, neighbors of the War Report from the very beginning. So, check us out. Just like to check y'all out too at auburnsports.com. We have a very interesting message board called The Bunker, and it's a lot of entertainment.
For sure.
Awesome. Before you get out of here, I got to acknowledge our good friend Corey Dubs. He got a question for you. Any comps for Holloway?
I don't know of a comp right off, but I have had more than one person tell me he is the quintessential perfect Auburn point guard. So he's a guy that gives you shooting, he gives you ball control, he gives you some height, and he gives you some just nastiness. Wynn has a lot of those, but he's not very big. And when he gets double teamed by those long trappers, he's in trouble. Just like he was a couple games ago. And I don't know if there's going to be a solution to that. I don't think he has great awareness when he gets trapped like that. Trey does a much better job with that. And I think that's why you're seeing Trey play 15, 20 minutes a game now.
Yeah.
And I think he and Wynn can play together a little bit too. But
I've been waiting for that, honestly. Maybe he's holding that back for some of the tough matchups we got.
Yeah, maybe. See, I love Trey. I think he's made more improvement than anybody on the team this year. My opinion.
Absolute facts.
JG, again, we appreciate you, my good friend. We will see you around.
Yes,
Definitely
sir.
have you back on, probably as we get closer to spring ball to talk some more about Hugh Freeze and what they're doing, or even just basketball. We got some opportunities.
I love basketball, man.
We got some opportunities there. So we'll definitely be seeing you. But again, thanks again, sir. And you have an amazing night. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to do this drawing. What are we giving away? Whenever. Okay.
Go ahead.
A mug, courtesy of War Eagle Oil. Hashtag get your weight up. You can enter that to win. Ike, let's do it.
All right, man. We got 47 people, a paltry number for 192 people
Y'all
live. But
tripping.
yeah, it's all good, man. Listen, man.
No, y'all tripping.
Give the mug to Kelsey. What's up, Kelsey? Long time.
Kelsey's the winner. It's y'all get it. Kelsey ain't mad. Kelsey, let us know if you hear, sir. We'll be looking out for you. Let's grab some of these. Let's grab some comments. Hang out with y'all before we get out of here. Corey Weber with the super says, let's talk Steiner moving to the edge position. Could he be successful rushing the passer? Your thoughts on that, Ike? I like is it Powell Gordon? I think is his name.
Yeah.
I like him because I know he did it in high school and I heard he was pretty good at it. But what do you think about Steiner?
I think somebody's asked about this before on a previous show, and I don't know. I mean, the only thing, if he gets the reps in practice to kind of understand that position a little bit more fundamentally, I think it could be fine. But I just want to have a guy that edge position, that jack position for this offense, or excuse me, for that defense is so crucial because it's what allows you to do a lot of stuff, right? Again, we talked about Falk and his ability to drop back in coverage and rush the passer and, set the edge in the run game, right? So if Steiner's going to be that guy, he can't be the guy that runs in there 100 miles an hour and misses a tackle.
Could he be another TD Moultrie?
He could be. That's what I'm saying. Like, he could be a TD Moultrie type of player, but see, TD, he was literally just in there to be an end. Like he was essentially a defensive end that, but a lot of people thought TD would play better on the inside. He just kind of blossomed in that final year to be a good outside guy. I don't know. I mean, from a size standpoint, I don't know how well that matches as far as height is concerned. You usually want that guy to be a little taller. We'll see, man. We'll see. I think that Wesley Steiner is a strong, gifted, quick athlete, and he's smart enough to play whatever position they put him in. So we'll see.
Kelsey Gardner says, I am here. We see you, bro. We need you to email us business@thewar.report. We need your physical address. Congratulations, sir. Thanks again for supporting the War Report. Get back to some more comments here. Philip Coleman says, Walker White, the QB supposed to commit tomorrow. Top 3 is Auburn, Clemson, and Baylor. I think a lot of people have pretty much conceded that he's going to Clemson. They was kind of hoping that he would recruit or he would commit later than tomorrow, coming off of junior day for Clemson. It was pretty telling when he went to Clemson instead of Auburn for their junior day where he was leaning, and for him to have a commitment coming this soon, it doesn't look good for us. I didn't know if you had any other thoughts about that, Ike.
Yeah, it probably went up there and they were like, hey, let's lock this down today. And he's like, okay. So likely that's a done deal. I mean, we had some guys that were like that. They essentially signed at the junior day and then announced a couple of days later. So I don't anticipate that. But what makes that an interesting situation is they've already got Cade Klubnik, right? Who mixed results when he played, but people like him up there. And then they've got another kid who they just signed, who's I think was a true freshman or already signed that class. One of them, like they have another big name QB recruit
who came in the 2023 class.
Okay, that is already up there for Clemson. So if they're going to take another guy, one of those guys is going to be unhappy and want to leave, right? So we'll see how that all plays out.
Yeah. But again, you bring in a QB every recruiting class, right? So It happens, especially if you're getting some big guys like that. But I know he was perceived to be the top target for Hugh Freeze, but there are definitely some more QBs that they're looking at going after. I
Yeah,
just think this is one of those positions. I mean, like, we brought in the kid from Thompson that I mentioned earlier from the 8th grade. Like, these relationships are forged very early on. And so even though Hugh Freeze and them made an amazing push after these kids, it's hard to overcome years of relationship building that a school like Clemson has built with this kid. So it's tough to overcome that. So it doesn't surprise me that he will likely be picking Clemson tomorrow. But hey, anything can happen. Stranger things have happened. So I don't see any. I don't know if anyone has anything else, but Kelsey says I already have a mug, fellas. Throw it back for the fam. So okay.
Let me pull that back up. I'm glad I didn't close it all the way. So let's get back to it. So y'all still have a chance.
Appreciate that, bro.
Let's get in here and see what's happening. We can hit this good draw again button. 48 people have an opportunity to win. Boom, boom.
Jeremy White.
That's a new name. I don't think I've seen that name floating on the comment section often. So,
all right, Jeremy, let us know so we don't have to draw a third time if you are here. My World of Sports says Merklinger is a top target of Freeze. Okay. I don't know if you know much about him, Mike.
Don't know a ton. I mean, I do know he's a quarterback target, but don't know a lot about him specifically. Like, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I haven't looked at a single snap from White either. I just know that, he had us in his top 3. So I don't know much about any of these guys. And I've said it plenty of times. I really don't study tape on a lot of players until they commit. And then I only go look at them to be like, oh, okay, cool. And then I don't actually study the tape until they sign, because I'm just like, I ain't spending no whole bunch of time on some kid who might not even be here, especially when they're like 2 classes out and people are like, oh, we got this 2026 kid. So I'm like, bro, I don't know what I'm gonna be doing in 2026. I'm not about to go. I'm not doing that, bro.
True. In My World of Sports says he's a 2024 QB out of Georgia. Obviously, the coaching staff isn't really high on the Aaron Nolan kid. I know he went to Bama for junior day, but it's for whatever reason, it seems like Hugh Freeze and staff aren't really high on him. So it looks like they're going to be going elsewhere before they ever settle on him if they have to. But then again, he may feel dissed and may not even want no parts of Auburn. So I don't think it's Aaron Nolan for Auburn. I don't think Jeremy White is here, Ike.
He has not said anything. So if he is here, then he is being super quiet about it, unless he's on that advanced delay. So yeah, we can draw it again.
Let's draw it again.
Let's see what we got here. To get back over here and hit it again. Only 48 people in here on this thing. Kenji Jones, I've definitely seen him recently.
Kenji, are you here, good sir? Are you here?
Oh, I'm typing on the wrong thing.
In My World of Sports again says Robbie has a big. If Robbie has a big year, the QBs will start rolling in. I agree with that. 24 is big, but 2025 is bigger. Air is more pure pro style plus a lefty. A lot of coaches don't like lefties. Left-hand QBs just don't see many great lefties.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
Appreciate
that, My World of Sports. We're waiting on Kenji here. Corey says he's here.
Yes. Anybody else has any questions?
Oh, here you go. Let's effing go. Congratulations, my guy, Kenji. Do the necessary. Send us your physical address to business@thru, and that mug will be coming your way. Congratulations, sir. Great show, great conversations. We want to thank JG for stopping by, hanging out with us to talk some football, basketball, a lot of good news over the past week at Auburn. So I tell the people why it is important to become a member of the War Report now.
I mean, listen, it's just a great way to support what we have going on. Even if it's not a lot of money to you, it means the world to us to try to get as many of people as we can doing this. It helps us to be able to continue to stay off of those. It used to be hashtag get us off these jobs. Now it's keep us off these jobs.
Or get C off his job.
I'm about to say get C off his job for real. So, a couple of us have made that leap over into doing it full time. That's why I can do lives in the middle of the day right now. But hey, getting us another dollar closer to getting C off and another dollar closer to me being able to pay all the bills with just War Report money is a beautiful thing. So coming on board helps you do that. And then we try to give you as much content as we can that makes it feel like it's worth your time. So I'm doing a lot of lives right now, at least one per week, where we're doing some sort of film breakdown. And that's going to be exclusive to those of you who are members. You can go and watch all of those on rewatch with your membership. If you want to gift a membership to somebody, you can do that right now from the live chat. And we appreciate everybody who has done that before and continues to do that. You didn't get a chance to win something today. That's all right. You can go to our merch store. warreport.com is the place to go. And get your weight up in the merch store. Purchase something. That too helps us, right? Every dollar helps us to continue to grow what we're doing over here so we can give you guys more content. For instance, like we weren't down at senior day this week. We just don't have enough money to spread everybody around and do that kind of thing. We want to give you guys all the access to all the things. So continue to support us so we can continue to bring you guys that great content. And you can listen to us on podcasts. We are the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report, everywhere where you listen to podcasts. A lot of audio only content going up over there. And give that a listen, give that a like, all of the above.
And we thank you for hanging out with us, guys, on a special Thursday. We'll get back to Wednesday when things settle down, especially with basketball. But if you've been watching this, if you watched tonight's show and you enjoyed it, let us know it's real. Share it on social media. Help people to also find this content that you enjoy. Smash the like button and subscribe. Tell a friend to subscribe so that we can get closer and closer to 10K. We greatly appreciate it. You can also find us on other socials. That is Twitter, Instagram, at The War Report. We're TW Report on TikTok. That's it for now, guys. Ike, you doing a morning drop in the morning?
Yeah, we did do one this morning. So we'll come in here tomorrow morning and we'll talk with you guys about something. We'll figure out what we're going to do. Probably going to talk a little basketball on the morning drop. We ain't did a basketball morning drop. Tennessee coming up. Why not?
We'll see you guys in the morning. Until then, enjoy the rest of your evening. And as always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.